Man, the AI world just doesn't slow down, does it? You try to get a handle on the latest big thing, and boom, there are three more popping up, demanding your attention.
I know what you mean. It's like a constant fire hose of new models, new research, new applications.
Yeah, and trying to sift through it all, figure out what's actually important,
Mm-hmm.
it can feel like a full-time job in itself.
That's exactly why we do this, right? To help people cut through the noise.
Exactly. So you've shared the AI Daily News Digest from March 14th, 2025 with us, and our mission, as always, is to dive deep, pull out the real gems, and make sense of it all.
The signal and the static. We're going to filter out the noise and give you the insights that matter.
All right, so what's on the menu for this deep dive? We've got a lot to cover today.
Oh, we do. We're going to look at Cohere's new offering, Command A, and see how it stacks up against Google's latest iteration of Gemini Flash.
Ooh, a battle of the titans. Love it. What else?
Then we'll unpack all the chatter around DeepMind's Gemma 3, especially the licensing concerns.
Definitely heard some buzz about that.
We'll also touch on DeepSeek and some of the interesting architectural details that have emerged. Olmo 32B was pretty quiet on this particular day, but we'll acknowledge its presence.
Okay, so that's the serious stuff, the brainy stuff. What about the fun side of AI?
Oh, we've got that covered too. We'll dive into how Claude 3.7 Sonnet is being used to create those amazing 3 blue 1 brown style math videos.
Wow, that's incredible. AI explaining math visually. That's a game changer.
And it's not just videos. Claude is even building games now.
Seriously, AI designing games, that's wild. Anything else?
We'll also look at 2.1 and how it's pushing the limits of video quality.
Always love seeing those advancements in visuals. So much potential there.
We'll revisit the clever caching in Claude, how it's boosting efficiency, and finally we'll wrap things up with OpenManus, the open source AI agent that has people excited.
All right, I'm ready to dive in. Let's start with this clash of the AI titans. Command A versus Gemini Flash. What struck you as the most important takeaway from the reports?
Well, Cohere came out swinging with Command A. This thing is a beast, boasting a massive 111 billion parameters and a context window of, get this, 256,000 tokens.
Whoa, those are some seriously big numbers. But what do those numbers actually mean in practical terms?
So that huge context window means Command A can hold and process a ton of information at once. Like, imagine reading a whole novel and remembering every single detail. That's the kind of capacity we're talking about. And Cohere's claiming that Command A is right up there with, if not exceeding, GPT-4o and DeepSeek-V3 for those really complex enterprise-level tasks.
So it's not just big, it's powerful and targeted towards those heavy-duty business applications.
Precisely. And the thing that really jumped out at me was the inference speed. They're reporting up to 156 tokens per second. That's incredibly fast.
Yeah, speed is a game changer in business. The faster the AI can process information, the faster it can complete tasks, the more responsive it can be. It's not just about having a big brain, it's about how quickly that brain can work.
Exactly. It's like having a vast library, but if you can't find the book you need quickly, it's not very useful. You need both the knowledge and the speed to access it. Now, how did Google respond to this with Gemini Flash?
Well, Gemini 2.0 Flash has now got this native image generation capability.
Mm-hmm.
You can feed it text and it'll spit out an image. Plus, it can handle multiple types of input simultaneously, like text and images together. It seems like Google is really focusing on making Gemini Flash this incredibly versatile multimodal tool.
And that makes a lot of sense, right? While Command A is all about raw power and speed, Gemini Flash is more about flexibility and being able to work across different data types. That native image generation is a big deal, opening up a whole new range of possibilities.
There was also a small hiccup with Command A's API, something about a safety mode none setting that caused some issues initially.
Yes, but it seems Cohere quickly addressed it, and simply removing that setting resolved the problem. It's a good reminder that even with the most advanced AI systems, there are always going to be some early bumps in the road.
Okay, let's move on to Gemma 3. Lots of excitement, but also lots of debate, particularly around the licensing. What's the gist of those concerns?
Right. The upcoming AMA with the DeepMind Gemma team, where they plan to discuss the Gemma 3 technical report, has generated a lot of discussion, and licensing is a hot topic. People are worried about the potential for a viral effect, meaning if they build something using Gemma 3, their creation might be forced to inherit similar, potentially restrictive licensing terms.
So it's like a chain reaction that could limit how freely developers can share or commercialize their work. That's a big concern.
The main point of contention seems to be the ambiguity around the term model derivative in the Gemma terms of use. The language isn't very clear, and that uncertainty makes developers nervous. They need clear boundaries. They need to know what they can and can't do without running into legal issues.
And it's not just about what you build with Gemma 3, right? There are also questions about the ownership of the output. If Gemma 3 generates some text or code, can you use that commercially?
Exactly. And the lack of clarity on this front is making developers hesitate. Clear, permissive licensing is crucial for open source AI, and when there's doubt, it can definitely hold back innovation.
Aside from licensing, what other discussions are happening around Gemma 3?
People are curious about the model's architecture. Why did DeepMind choose a smaller hidden dimension but with more layers? And what's the rationale behind that 1.5 ratio of global to local attention layers for handling long sequences?
That sounds pretty technical. What's the takeaway for non-experts?
Basically, DeepMind is trying to balance performance, latency, and memory efficiency. A smaller hidden dimension with more layers can lead to better learning without requiring a ton of computing power. And the balance of global and local attention is all about understanding both the big picture and the specific details within a long piece of text.
Makes sense. What about the future of Gemma? What are people hoping to see?
Well, there's a lot of interest in larger models, maybe in the 40 billion to 100 billion parameter range. People are also asking for voice capabilities, function calling to interact with external tools, and the ability to generate more structured output.
And what has the DeepMind team said about these wishes?
They've hinted at some upcoming examples and improvements, suggesting they're definitely listening to the community and thinking about these features for future versions.
Speaking of hiccups, it seems like fine-tuning Gemma 3 hit a snag because of a bug in the Hugging Face Transformers library.
Yeah, that's the reality of working with cutting-edge technology. Bugs happen. The good news is that the community usually spots them quickly, and the teams work hard to fix them. It's all part of the collaborative process.
Now, there's also some news about these GGUF quantized versions of Deep Hermes models. What's that all about?
Think of quantization as a way to slim down these models, make them smaller and faster so they can run on less powerful hardware. It's all about making this technology more accessible.
So even if you don't have the latest and greatest GPU, you can still experiment with these powerful models.
Exactly. They've got versions based on the 8 billion parameter Deep Hermes model, but also a 24 billion one and even a tiny 3 billion one. And they come in different quantization levels like Q4 and Q8, which basically represent different degrees of compression.
Okay, let's shift gears to DeepSeek. The news mentioned data crunch analyzing multi-head latent attention, or MLA, with weight absorption in DeepSeek's V3 and R1 models. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. Multi-head latent attention is basically a way for the model to focus on different parts of the input at the same time, allowing it to understand more complex relationships. Latent means it's working with a more abstract representation of the data. And weight absorption is a technique that probably helps to streamline the model's calculations or improve its efficiency. It's all pretty deep in the technical weeds, but it shows that DeepSeek is constantly innovating.
And what about Olmo 32B? It seems to have been rather quiet in this news digest.
You're right. No major announcements or updates about Olmo 32B in this particular digest. Doesn't mean it's not important, just that it didn't have any big news on this specific day.
All right, now for something that really blew my mind. Claude 3.7 Sonnet generating content that looks like those amazing 3 blue 1 brown math explanation videos. And even creating games. That's next level AI creativity, right?
It really is. The potential for education is enormous. Imagine being able to create these incredibly engaging visual explanations for complex math and science concepts, all powered by AI. It could transform how we learn and teach these subjects.
And the best part is that the code used to generate these visuals is available on GitHub. That kind of transparency is fantastic for the community.
Absolutely. It allows everyone to see how it was done, learn from it, and build upon it. But it also raises some important questions. There was an example of a math error in the AI-generated content that went unnoticed. It's a good reminder that these tools are powerful, but they're not perfect.
So while we should be excited about the possibilities, we also need to be cautious and not blindly trust everything AI generates, especially when it comes to something like education.
Exactly. Critical thinking and human oversight are still crucial. Now let's talk about AI building games. The fact that Claude can create a simple artillery defense game and even design an unbeatable AI opponent is pretty mind-blowing.
It suggests a deep understanding of game logic, mechanics, and even strategy. But it sounds like there were some challenges along the way. Some users hit limitations with Claude's token window when working with larger code bases.
That's a known limitation of current language models. They can only remember so much information at once. But even with those limitations, we're seeing incredible things.
Like that user, Kragen9, who built a full-fledged 1,500-line artillery defense game using HTML, JavaScript, and Sonnet 3.7. They even had Claude generate the graphics using CSS.
It's a great example of how developers can collaborate with AI to bring their creative vision to life.
And it looks like Anthropic is making Claude even more efficient with these new API updates. Cache-aware rate limits and prompt caching sound like they could significantly reduce costs and speed things up.
They're big improvements. Prompt caching basically means Claude can remember parts of previous interactions, so it doesn't have to reprocess everything every time. It's like giving Claude a better short-term memory, which makes it faster and cheaper to use.
And there's this new text editor tool in the API, which is designed for making specific edits to text.
Yeah, that should make it much easier to refine and modify AI-generated content, streamlining the whole editing process.
Interestingly, a report mentioned that Olympic Coder, a smaller 7 billion parameter model, actually outperformed Claude 3.7 on some tough coding challenges.
It just goes to show that bigger isn't always better. Specialized models trained for specific tasks can really shine in their niche. Now, switching gears to video, there's been a big quality boost for WAN 2.1 using skip layer guidance.
Yeah, and what's great is that someone implemented this in a tool called WAN2GP, which is designed to run on consumer-level graphics cards. That makes this technology accessible to way more people.
Definitely. The more accessible these tools become, the more people can experiment and innovate with them. The basic idea behind skip layer guidance is that you intentionally skip certain layers during the video denoising process, which can improve the final quality.
Although it seems like there's still some fine-tuning needed. Some users are getting great results, while others are having issues with video speed or even corruption.
It's a new technique, so there's always some experimentation involved. It's all about figuring out the optimal settings for different use cases.
And it seems like the sharing continues. Someone trained a new 14 billion parameter WAN 2.1 image-to-video model and shared it for others to try.
That's the beauty of the open source community. This constant sharing and collaboration is driving progress at an incredible pace.
We talked about Claude's clever taching earlier, but it's worth emphasizing how important this focus on efficiency is. As these models get bigger and the data they work with gets larger, we need smarter ways to manage resources.
Absolutely. Being able to remember previous information and not having to reprocess everything from scratch is crucial for both speed and cost effectiveness. Now let's wrap up with Open Manus, the open source alternative to Manus.
Yeah, people seem really excited about this one. It's all about making AI agent technology more accessible and open.
And there is this funny little side story about potentially naming an AI agent Ano Uses, with some code even popping up on GitHub. It just goes to show that even in the serious world of AI, there's always room for a little humor.
So as we conclude our deep dive into the AI Daily News Digest of March 14th, 2025, it's clear that the AI world is moving at warp speed.
And it's not just about bigger models. We're seeing advances in efficiency, creativity, accessibility, and so much more.
It's an exciting time to be following this field, and it raises an important question for you, the listener. What kind of AI capabilities do you think will become commonplace in the next year? What are you most excited or maybe even concerned about?
It's worth thinking about because this technology is evolving rapidly and it's going to have a huge impact on all of our lives.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with more AI news and insights.